Okay, I keep finding more things right after I hit the save video button. So here's another thing. Okay, so I was going through some of these pictures of this spacing is wrong. Okay, yeah, no, that's a small issue. All right, cool. I'm also not fixing all of the multiple choice, by the way, so you go back and do all that stuff, but I'm leaving that for you. Okay, so I was looking at some of these pictures, right, and like this picture in particular, I would actually do this entire question over text. So like the square root things, we have them. This, yes, it's a fraction, but it's relatively simple. You can just do, like 2 space backslash space and then in parentheses x plus 1 with spaces around the plus sign, etc., etc. Okay, so just do that, and then that's pretty okay. For the most part, like as much as possible, I don't want to use pictures, but when it is necessary to use a picture, then that's chill. Okay, so we've got that going on. This one here, I think you repeated the text. So it says the glass shown holds a maximum volume of, yeah. So the text is repeated. Usually what I do for these ones, so I don't actually include this part at all, this thing, because 2 reasons. One, it doesn't update if we update the question numbers, if we add any questions in, like it's no longer going to be questions 9 through 11, and then it'll be really confusing. And 2, because we just don't need it, because what I will do then is just take basically a screen clipping. I can kind of show you. I would just take a screen clipping of like just this right here. Also, I mean, obviously trying to make these like look kind of nice so that the spacing around the edges is like sort of similar and etc. But anyway, this is what we present to the students, right? So it's not just is it functional, it's also like, do we look professional and does it look good and stuff like that. But if you just take this and put it on all of the questions, 9, 10, and 11, then it won't matter because the student will just know, okay, obviously this picture applies to this current question that I'm working on. And they're familiar with the basic idea of, sometimes one picture is used for multiple whatevers. Okay, so we've got that. So I would also not include the text in this picture. Then if we go back, then the text is here, and that's super cool. So we've got that going on. What was this one? Yeah, right. So same thing. So I would just have just this picture first, and then you can have this text obviously written out, and then these multiple choice questions and answers are definitely going to need to be a thing, and I would definitely include all 4 as just one big picture. But again, something like just kind of a big rectangle, and it just captures sort of that area, right? Okay. In terms of other pictures, so yeah, like most pictures, I would do this one in just text, and not an actual picture. This one obviously needs to be a picture, so that's super good. This one needs to be a picture, so that's totally fine as well. So anything that's a chart, anything that's an actual picture, something like this. Oh, I usually have the array file and the main worksheet open side by side in case I need to make any changes. So that's kind of why I have it open. We haven't really used this. But, so any of that stuff. This one, like maybe, but honestly, I would probably do this one also in text. That one doesn't really need to be a picture. This one obviously needs to be a picture. But most of the time, I'm really not going to do pictures because we do have symbols for the square root sign. We do have all of these exponents, and we have reasonable ways of making fractions look okay. This one is just super a toss-up. I mean, I probably would do all the fractions, but I would just like space them out a whole bunch. So, extra like spaces in between or whatever. That's not helpful. Okay, cool. I'm actually going to save that. And then you could sort of take a picture of this, but in this case, I usually do make this like a couple font sizes bigger because then it is a little bit more readable, even though it looks maybe kind of silly. I wish that these could be like smaller. I wonder if I could make this. Yeah, no. Because it changed the size of this too. Anyway, well, whatever. So, just to give you kind of an idea of, where we're coming from. I didn't look at all these pictures, obviously, but there's a couple. Oh, interesting. Okay, other kind of side note, in order to have italics, you have to surround it with, these things. This. So it won't actually turn into italics unless you have it that way. Like that. If you do these things surrounding, so you can't do, so sometimes like f of x will be written, this will be written in italics, right? But if you do that in the array, I'm just going to throw this here. If you put it in the array and you have like F, like it's intended to be italicized, and then you put a parenthesis right afterwards, it won't actually turn this into italics because there's something right afterwards. So there actually has to be a space there, which I don't really like because then the way that it comes out is like this is italicized, but then there's this big space, and it just looks like sort of strange. It like kind of looks okay, but I just don't like it as much. So I usually just ignore that entirely, and I convert that formatting from the SAT. I just convert it into just plain text, and I don't do the italics. So let me make sure that I didn't add any extra spaces there. Cool, I did not. Okay, awesome. I think that's enough for this video, but who knows how many more videos there will be.